Two men journey to the bars and restaurants of Scandinavia to find amazing beers, always with the same question.
Hey, what's on tap?
It's time to find out.
Welcome to What's on Tap podcast. We are here to drink more beer, and we are doing in habla español.
Yeah, I almost said, Hola, ¿dónde está cerveza podcast?
Perfect.
Now we've alienated another country.
We have many countries that speak Spanish,
Yes.
not just Spain, but all of Latin America and South America.
That we have
with the exception of Brazil, who speaks Portuguese.
Yes. It's like in The Simpsons where during the many years The Simpsons have been on, they've excluded states that Springfield cannot be in.
Yeah.
Because Homer says, I'm no longer allowed back into Florida.
Yeah.
And now they've excluded all the states. There are no states that it could be in anymore.
Oh, good. Well, that's good.
Yeah. But...
Yeah. No, I loved in the Simpsons movie where there's like, it borders like 5 states and none of the states are close to each other.
It borders New York and California.
Yeah, it was like Maine and Colorado and.
But you have been in Spain.
I have been in Spain.
You brought back treats.
I did. So I was up in the Basque Country, which is the upper left quadrant of the area. So Basque Country, little geography history here, and a little history of the Basque people, incorporates west of the Pyrenees, southern France, and northern Spain.
Yeah.
So that's all Basque Country, and so that's where you get things like Basque Wine Brewing, which we've tried many times, and they do really nice stuff there. And they're based out of San Sebastian, which has the most. I don't know if this still holds true, but at one point, quite recently, they held the most Michelin star restaurants per capita.
Wow!
So if you look at Michelin stars in San Sebastian, there's like 10 or 12.
Wow! And
we're talking about a country that is like, or sorry, not country, but a city that's basically the size of Lund.
Oh,
yeah, it's really small. But also went to Bilbao, which has Guggenheim, which was the primary reason for going there. It had lots of tapas or pinchos or whatever they're called, and Basque cheesecake, which was amazing.
Nice.
Oh my God, it was so good. Highly recommend that. But it was a lovely, lovely region, and if you're ever up there, there's a lot of great beer bars, and there's a lot of great places to eat and drink. And so I made sure to check out some of the bottle shops and brought a couple of beers back with me. The first one is Dua, which is says Dua Sparkling Beer, and they are from Spain, but I don't see where.
We'll research it. Speaking of Bilbao, when I was in high school, a classmate of mine did an English test, but he had forgotten. And the question was the answer to the question was Merchant of Venice, but he didn't remember that. He knew it was something catchy, so he wrote "The Baker in Bilbao" as the answer. And I've always carried that with me. That's pretty.
That's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny.
You can just look up. Yeah.
They are from dun dun dun. What? It doesn't say.
Well, sometimes you have to go into the actual.
It just says Spain.
Oh.
Wow.
All right. Well, they're from Spain. I would guess they're somewhere from northern Spain as well. Because I didn't really see them anywhere else when I traveled. But to be fair, I didn't go to southern Spain in this.
Oviedo.
Where?
Oviedo.
Oviedo, which is where in Spain?
We can't click it.
Oh. Well, if only there was another way to look up an address. Well, we'll get back to that. You can look that up while we talk about this beer.
Yeah.
So they had a bunch of different types of beers, and I saw they had a Grisette on can, and I was like, wow, what a fun style to have. So
west of Bilbao.
It is right along the coast. I guess it's the Atlantic coast side. I'm sure there's a sea or a bay or whatever the hell that area is called.
The Bay of Biscay.
Oh, the Bay of Biscay. Very famous bay of...
yes.
I've heard of that one. So yeah, the Bay of Biscay, which is the northern coast of Spain. Lovely area. Apparently excellent surfing, I've heard. Not a surfer, but that seemed to be the real thing to do there. But yeah, they had a Grisette on can, and I thought, what a bold choice from a brewery to put a Grisette out, because no one does this style.
Agreed.
It's a farmhouse table beer is usually kind of what it's referred to. And when you smell this beer, I don't know if you smelled it yet, but it is wild, funky. When I poured it out of the can, it just like poof, exploded with foam. Still a nice foam on top of this thing. And it is truly a Grisette beer.
Nice.
It comes in at, I want to say, 4.2% ABV. Yeah, so it's a perfect table beer. Good for the summer, good for the warm days. I think that it's also called, it's Grisette de Sconda Petite Saison.
And it's an amazing can art. It's this abstract face of a woman with the glasses and a small little beauty spot.
Yes.
And then a huge set of round hair.
Yes, or like giant orange afro.
Yes.
All right, well, cheers, man.
Cheers.
Like I said, the nose is a little sweet. It's a little tangy, not really sour, but there's a little kind of funkiness there. What do you think about the taste?
On the flavor, it's lemony tartness, but very subdued. It's there together with a lot of yeast flavors, like a farmhouse. A bit of sweetness. It's very clean and fresh.
Yeah, it doesn't say there's no Brett or anything in this beer, but it definitely tastes like maybe the yeast they're doing is a Belgian-y kind of yeast or something, because it's got a nice funkiness to it that you would expect from this kind of beer.
Yeah, on the internet it says refermentada con cultivo mixto. So that's probably
mixed fermentation.
Mixed fermentation. Yes, we are the greatest at Spanish.
Oh yeah, we are. I think we do surprisingly well with our rough translation of different language knowledge. But it's very clean, it's very neat. If you like this kind of beer and you're expecting a huge, funky kind of beer, it's not that. This is more of a laid-back, kind of relaxed entry into this kind of style. Very drinkable for me. I really quite like this.
Yeah, have we talked about Grisette? Is it Grisette that comes from like miners that wore grey clothing?
I mean, it very well could be. It sounds like something that would be true.
I remember us recording an episode in the past where we basically drank a Grisette and I let my mind wander and transported us to a place where we were dirty miners who came up and were served Grisette.
I mean, I could definitely see this being something you would want to have after working a hard day, and you get this kind of funky table beer it's quite tasty.
It's true. The name, which means little grey one, comes from the either from the local grey-colored stone or from the grey frocks worn by the women who served the beer at local pubs.
And it's a German originally, or French, Flemish? French. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that all makes sense. This is good, man.
It's very tasty.
Really solid. You don't know sometimes when you see like a brewery you've never heard of doing a style that's not particularly popular. No. You're like, oof, this is either going to be a complete mess or just passable. But This is surprisingly really good.
Yeah, so I usually don't rate according to style, but I can often put myself into the mindset of a style before I tried it. So if you gave this to me blind and basically said, "Oh, this is a saison," I think it would get a lower rating. But now I already put myself in the Grisette mode, knowing what to expect, and the beer surpassed that. So I'm giving it a 4.
I'm giving it a 4 as well.
But no, it's because I set my expectations
separately, right?
In preparation of tasting it.
Yeah. So it tastes like a light saison, which is a petite saison. So I mean, it is a light saison. So it's got a lot of those characteristics to it, but it's also just a very relaxed, kind of what you want from a Grisette kind of beer.
Exactly.
A nice table beer, I would say.
But it's the same as when we drink a chocolate imperial stout and it tastes nothing like chocolate, then we've already set our expectations and we are disappointed, even if the flavor is good.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same here, where you need to know what you're getting into, especially with these styles that have a more mellow, subdued, refined flavor.
And like I said, and these kind of off styles that you don't find a lot of examples of, people aren't going to be as easily impressed by them or really understand what it is they're looking for in the style. But yeah, this one was really, really good. So moving on, our next one is from there's a lot of breweries up in this Basque area, and one of the ones that I was really excited about was Drunken Brothers, and they're from Zamudio, wherever that is. But they have a beer line called Memorial Series, and it's all based around different artists. So I tried the Elvis one. So I was torn. They had the Elvis, and they had Kurt, which is of course Kurt Cobain, and then I think another one, maybe Janis or something like
Prince?
that. I saw Prince as well, but I saw that in Madrid. And they all are. Most of them are, I think, IPAs, double IPAs, but then there's some other ones that are sours or other styles. But yeah, I thought Kurt Cobain, perfect for the show. So you would think they would all kind of look basically the same, but the Prince one looks very different from the Kurt Cobain one, which is more of a cassette tape look.
Yeah, the black, white, and red of this one, it has a Nirvana feeling.
And it feels like that 90s, like you listen to everything on cassette tape, basically that you recorded off of someone else or off the radio or a mixtape you would make.
Yeah.
I think the Elvis one was definitely 70s Elvis style look. Yeah. It was gold and lettering and stuff, but it was pretty good too. But if you go through it, like I thought, maybe they have a lot of, like 10 or more of these different beers in the series. So it's quite interesting to go through. But yeah, the double IPA comes in at 8%.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 8%. So yeah, it's a double dry hopped IPA. It doesn't say what kind of hops, as far as I can tell, because it's all in Spanish, and I would assume those don't translate, but you never know.
Double citra and amarillo with Vermont yeast.
Sure.
According to interwebs, and it's definitely in New England.
Yeah.
Very yellow.
Almost kind of orangish looking.
Yeah, almost orange.
Kind of, I don't know, a little grassy or something on those.
It's not the hop aroma I would have expected. Did I say citra and amarillo?
That's what you said.
Those are favorite hops of mine. It doesn't really smell like it, but
it doesn't smell citra for sure.
I'm prepared to be blown away.
I mean, it's good. Mm-hmm. It's a little citrusy. It's kind of for me, it's kind of a grassy, resiny kind of flavor in the end.
Almost very cantaloupe-y. Mm-hmm. But that's a flavor we're not used to seeing that much from citra and amarillo.
No, you wouldn't expect to get those. But there's a... I don't see any... I mean, the oat flake, I think, is what's giving it a nice mouthfeel to it.
Yeah.
Because it's very smooth. It's very easy to drink. It's a little flat for me. Like the carbonation's not quite there. But that just makes it go down easier. Yeah. I'd say for me, that's the real drawback of this, is the carbonation's like way off.
Yep.
It should be a little more, we'll go effervescent. There should be a little more play on the tongue from the carbonation on it. So it's a little flat, which is a real shame. Because I think otherwise this is a really solid entry. It's a pretty solid double dry hopped IPA.
Yeah.
What?
I'm looking at I'm trying to figure out the date.
Well, the expiration date is 6/24, so June 24 next year.
Of course.
So I would guess it's probably June
from June of this
year. So it's not that old. It's a pretty recent can, I would say. Yeah,
it's good, but maybe it doesn't hit the 4 spot.
This is a 3.75 for me.
Yeah.
I think if the carbonation had been there, it would be a 4. maybe even a little over a 4.
Yeah.
But because it's just so flat, there's no play, and it's tasty. It's a little sweet. It drinks very easy, but it doesn't have that extra little bit that kind of pushes it over the top for me.
Agreed. And it would need to taste a little bit more of citra.
The citra could be a little stronger. I agree. And that, that could have been where the carbonation comes in to kind of buoy those flavors up more.
I went back to the Grisette. It's solid.
Yeah. So I think these are 2 really good beers from a region that probably people don't know about or don't think about when it comes to decent beers. Spain has really come around in the past, I would say 3 years, where they've got some excellent, really world-class brewers happening down there now. I think if you're in the region, if you're in Madrid, Barcelona, up in the Basque Land, so many great beer bars, so many great bottle shops to check out. The one that I hit in Madrid that I actually went back a couple of times, the guy was just like, just come behind the counter and you can just look whatever you have on the shelves. Just pick what you want. And we're like, sweet. And it was a pretty impressive collection of, it wasn't like a huge overwhelming, but they had a lot of different stuff there on their shelves from a lot of breweries I wasn't familiar with in the Madrid area. So definitely, I would say, if you're in Spain, Spain's a great beer country. It's become a great beer country, and it's really, really worth checking out now.
Nice.
Yep.
Got some good travel tips.
Yep. France wasn't that great. There's a reason why wine is still the best thing out of there. But tried a few beers from southern France, and I would say that there's still some work that needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, the best breweries from France are few and far.
And there's Piggy and there's Popin and
Café des Grands Paris. We interviewed them at All In.
Yeah,
they're pretty good.
Yeah. So there's 3. I'm sure there's more, but off the top of my head, Popin and Piggy are kind of the 2 that really get the most export.
Yeah.
And the ones we've tried the most. But I'm sure there are. I was hoping to discover some small breweries, like no one, like regional or whatever. That did not happen. So you can find us online at What's on Tap Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you can find podcast, you can find us. Until next time,
keep drinking, you dum-dums.